What's going on? It's Nick with Us versus Herd. We're going to be talking today about what's going on with Chinese stocks, and a lot of people they got very excited what was happening with Chinese stocks up until recently. Now, before we go over the charts, let's go over why stocks like Alibaba, BIDU are down right now. I mean, they're in big trouble outside of being shut down for the pandemic and different things, different things that the government is doing there. There's a lot of things happening between the U.S. and China. President Xi and Biden had a call yesterday that lasted over 2 hours, and right now tensions are pretty high, especially what's going on in Taiwan. And we just passed it's going to Biden's desk. The House yesterday passed the CHIPS bill to further compete with China in regarding the chips. And I mean, this is going to be a little bit crazy. But right now, what's going on is Alibaba was again added to the SEC list of being delisted. Right? They're possibly being delisted, and there's going to be a crackdown, and this thing has been happening for a few years, even when Trump was back in office with the tariffs, and he was threatening to delist Chinese companies, right? But here we are again, where this, if you're an investor in Chinese stocks, and I've actually sold all my Chinese stocks a long time ago, because for me, honestly, has become uninvestable. Let me know in the comments what you think. I mean, are you able to invest in these stocks? I mean, for me personally, I am not, but there is a lot of money to be had on the options side of things. But looking at it here, the U.S. Securities and Exchange Commission on Friday added the largest U.S. listed Chinese company to a growing roster of firms that face removal because of Beijing's refusal to permit American officials to review the auditor's work. The publication of the business's names, which was required by a 2020 law, starts a 3-year clock to a final delisting. So there's a lot of times there's a lot of time to go before we can kind of get into what's happening. The biggest thing is China lies about their numbers. The company lies about their numbers. That's what happened like Luckin Coffee, right? Found out it was a big scam. The company crumbled. Sure, they came back, but a lot of these Chinese companies are not reporting the correct numbers. They're inflating the numbers. They're posting wrong numbers. And if you want to be listed on the U.S. stock exchange, we need the real numbers. And that's what the auditors are trying to figure out, because they don't want any scams on the marketplace. And sure, there's a lot of scams in the marketplace, but they're leaning into China to make sure that there's no scams going on, and making sure that, if you're investing in Alibaba and it's making X amount of revenue, they want to make sure it's making X amount of revenue. And if you could do me a big favor, hit the like button below. And if you want to join our trading community, links are below in the description to our Discord and our trading group on Facebook. And if you're learning more about options trading, there's a promo code below for the UVH Academy that takes you from beginning to end to start options trading, learning how to options trade and build your own plan. Now, what happened in China today? The Hang Seng dropped more than 2%, following all of what is happening going on right here, mostly due to the SEC. But there's some big names going on. Jack Ma is going to give up control. Now this is huge. He's going to give up control of Alibaba Ant Group. I mean, what he spent his whole life doing, he's about to give up. I mean, this is crazy. And this whole thing started because, Jack Ma started to get, I mean, he got huge. I mean, he's the Jeff Bezos of China. I mean, he's huge. I mean, in terms of, he's one of the biggest businessmen in the globe due to what he did to Alibaba and bringing us into, the next era of cloud computing. And they have cloud data centers all over the place. I mean, they have distribution centers all over the world, just like Amazon. And I kind of feel bad for Jack in a lot of ways, that he spent his whole life pursuing this dream. And he has that big famous video where it's like, hey, there were 20 people that were applying to a KFC, and all of them got hired except for me. I mean, things were so low for him. KFC didn't even want to hire Jack Ma. I mean, that is crazy. He wasn't good enough. He wasn't good enough for KFC. So then he, spent his time building his own businesses. And for someone that's built or am currently building businesses, this would be extremely hard for me to, like, my life's work. We were doing so much, we've accomplished it, but because of the Chinese government, I actually have to give up control. If it weren't for the Chinese government, he wouldn't have to give up control. If it wasn't for his seat in the Communist Party and him starting to speak out, once he started to speak out against China and what they were doing, he went missing for 2 years. No one knew where he was. Everyone was like, "Where's Jack? Is he locked in a prison cell? What's going on? We don't know what's going on." And it looks like China is now fully taking control of Ant Group, which that's probably why the SEC is starting to crack down. The SEC is starting to crack down because they don't like that. They don't like that. Now, also on top of this, Ant Group execs stepped down. So several Ant Group executives have stepped down as partners of affiliate company Alibaba. Ant Group is an affiliate of Alibaba in which the e-commerce giant owns 33%. Ant Group runs the Alipay mobile payments wallet in China. But in trying to separate itself further from Alibaba since the initial public offering, which would have been the world's biggest, was suspended in November 2020 after regulators flagged concerns. So this is still ongoing. Sure, there has been good news, but I mean, it's rough. It's rough. So let's look at some of these charts, okay? So we're looking at Alibaba. This is just over the past year. And the past year, it's gone from a high of 203 to a low of 73, currently trading at 91 right now. It's currently down a whopping 9% right now. I mean, this is incredible. Now, I even started to get pretty excited. I'm like, okay, I didn't invest, but I was like, okay, we're crossing back over the 50-day moving average. We're back over the 100-day moving average. We crossed over the 200-day moving average, and everyone's like, oh, getting very excited. But if you can kind of see here, I mean, back in here, when we crossed over the 200-day moving average, the volume was basically non-existent. Low volume. Even the sell-off is kind of low volume compared to some of these sell-offs in the past, right? When it cracked down to 73 and it was just getting decimated. But kind of looking at here, I mean, I would say, obviously the trend is your friend, right? And the 200-day, when was the last time it was even above the 200-day moving average, right? Let's take a look here. So last time it was above the 200-day moving average, we'll zoom in right here. So was in, what is this? Yeah, earlier last year. I mean, they've been having issues for some time. I mean, since 2020, 2021, when they started having those, when they started to have that exchange and regulatory issues, and then Jack Ma was speaking out against China, that's when everything started to crumble. And ever since then, I mean, sure, there's been some massive rips that you can make money on, but it's basically uninvestable as a long-term investor. You don't want to invest in this when they potentially could be, delisted, and your shares then come back be worth zero. You're not going to be made whole. And everyone thinks, this is, if you're on the US exchange, learn about ADRs, because you're not actually owning shares of the company. You're actually owning this through an ADR. So just, I'm not going to go through that right now. Look up ADR on YouTube and you'll be able to figure it out. Right. So just so you know, I mean, this thing's going to go, if something bad does happen, which something bad has happened. I mean, they've been unloading this. Sure, we've had massive rips. And the reason why everyone got excited, because this is the first time in over a year and a half that we went above the 200-day moving average. But now this thing is getting, it basically just crumbled. I mean, this thing is getting smoked. I mean, sure, if you held here, I mean, basically, let's go back here. This is like 2015. I mean, it's below IPO price. Well, actually, yeah, 91. No, it's not below IPO price. We did hit below IPO price. It did hit a high here, 99 when it debuted. We're at 91. So I mean, I don't know. I mean, I guess we're close to below IPO. We're right about there, IPO price. So if you held since 2014 to 2022 at the IPO, you would have made zero money. Obviously you would have probably sold way before then, because I mean, this thing just skyrocketed. It went to 319, before all of this went down. And that's the thing, like, these Chinese stocks right now, they're amazing business. Alibaba is amazing business. I mean, I put my money where my mouth is. I was a long-term investor in Alibaba for quite some time. I bought back in the 90s. Rode it up to 200. Thought that was pretty crazy. I wanted to buy more and hold up to 1,000. But that didn't happen. Like, that just didn't happen. And now with all this news coming out, I'm not trying to buy. can you trade options of this? Sure. Can you sell premium? Sure. I mean, any spikes right now, you just don't know, because all of this is news induced, and it's very, very hard to trade news induced events. I mean, like, think about when we were trading like Chinese tariffs back in 2018. That was crazy. The market didn't care about anything else except for what Trump or Trump was tweeting and what was happening with the tariffs and what was going on. Like, that was a crazy time. And that's the same thing. If you want to trade a Chinese stock right now, you're going to be in a situation where it doesn't matter how good the business is. What matters is what's happening between China, the U.S., exchanges, and this power struggle that we're starting to see. China and the U.S. are starting to get more like this, and honestly, we don't know what's going to happen. And who knows? Is Nancy Pelosi going to Taiwan or not? We don't know. China said that'd be a bad thing, but the same thing. BIDU, is another one. I mean, they're currently down only 2% right now, but they're sinking just like any other Chinese stock, because these guys have exposure just like Alibaba does. And again, this is an ADR. And looking here, I mean, got excited again, went back above the 200-day, was holding. This stock looks way better than Alibaba, but I think that it's going to suffer the same fate. Probably will revisit the lows unless something changes with the SEC or what's going on with the different governments. JD is getting smoked today. It's down 5% almost here. And again, we were getting excited here, but this one did not get above the 200-day moving average. Actually is now resistance, pretty solid resistance here. But I mean, to be fair, this stock hasn't sold off as bad as some of the other ones, especially Alibaba. But right now, Alibaba this thing is in deep trouble. Is probably going to sink the other Chinese stocks with it. I mean, let me know what you think in the comments below. Like the video. As always, stay safe, stay green. It's us versus herd.